We are legends.
Hello and welcome to We RRR Legends, the unofficial podcast of DC Legends Mobile. I am Slowbeast, and with me as always is Hate Mail. In this episode, we're doing a short recording talking about Deathstroke and Lobo, as well as some other changes. We will be releasing a full podcast later in the week, but with the combination of scheduling conflicts as well as wanting to have all the information that we have about we could gather on the new characters, we decided that it would be best to release the full episode late in the week, probably going live Thursday or Friday at the latest.
Yeah, though we didn't want to run into the trap where we got all the new information dropped. There's a good chance they'll drop it Monday, but we're not able to record on Tuesday anyway, so we'd have to record on Monday, and we decided it was just best for you guys to get the full info later. Maybe even have a chance to play with one of the new characters, possibly.
Yeah, just give more complete information. So that's it seems to be always the problem that we're fighting is we try to record so early in the week and the information tends to drop as soon as we're done editing. So hopefully this will work out this week, and we can get you some complete information. But let's get to the news. So something that was announced that we really didn't get to talk about in one of our podcasts was the changes to Lobo and Deathstroke. And the Deathstroke changes, Deathstroke changes were that when a teammate dies, now the buff he gets will have a 2-turn duration. What do you think about that change to Deathstroke's kit?
I think that's actually good a good change. It doesn't make him unusable, so he's still very strong if you kill a couple people. Because whenever you're fighting Deathstroke, unless you're fighting the baby Lobo teams, Deathstroke will usually get buffed once or twice in a match, sometimes 3 times, and he becomes extremely potent just after one death. But having it last 2 turns, before he would just last way too long. So if it came down to you and Cyborg Superman or Batman TDK, and not always Batman TDK, but a strong energy character, a lot of times Deathstroke would still win, just because he could keep taking turns over and over and over. And I think this makes it so that with future game content and with Alliance missions or whatever's coming, we may know by the time this podcast drops, but at this time of recording, we don't know what it is yet, or any future PvE content, having him have endless buffs off deaths just break the game. It makes it so that all you need is Deathstroke geared out, and you really don't need anything else, and you probably would be able to beat any future content, unless they just jammed everything with heal immunity, and then it makes it so that healers no longer work. So I think this is a good for the long-term health of the game. I know some people that have relied on Deathstroke to carry them through content or Alliance missions. You're probably upset about this change, but honestly, for the game's long-term viability, this is a good needed change.
Yeah, and we talked about this a little on our patron-only episode, and you actually brought up the fact that you're seeing some backlash on Reddit and some of the forums talking about now the people that were apparently using this to their advantage are a little upset with the change to Deathstroke. But
well, I think what they're upset about is that Red Hood was released and pushed and marketed as a paywall character, and some people invested into him. As a person who invested heavily into Red Hood, geared him out, I'm not that upset personally. I think that Red Hood was supposed to be the solution, but I don't think it was the end-all be-all for this combo. He makes the fighting this trivial, but there's plenty of people found ways around Deathstroke, and yeah, they probably should have done this a long time ago, but I think their thought process was they're going to release Red Hood, they're going to release other characters, and they thought it would fix itself. But after 4 months, it's still going on. You're still seeing, even today where it's significantly reduced, even in the high tiers, I'm still seeing 50% on my board Deathstroke Lobo.
right.
So it's, it's still a little too much. So, I think this is a good thing. It's good for the health of the game, and overall, I'm happy. And I also think this has a lot to do with Swamp Thing. When you look at what they've announced so far in their kits, Swamp Thing can res the whole team, and Jessica Cruz's kit revolved around people dying. So there may have been a scary combination with Deathstroke and Jessica Cruz, or possibly just Lobo's change was more because of her.
Sure.
So we didn't want to have Deathstroke all over again. So honestly, I think this is a good change. And while we're on it, let's get into Lobo.
Yeah, so the change to Lobo is that Let me find it. I apologize.
It's saying that he will only be able to revive up to 3 times in a single battle, but he's going to have an
Yeah,
increased
there's
chance to trigger his Space Hog surprise
right.
after successfully reviving.
Right. So he can only revive 3 times in the battle, but he's probably going to put his bleeds on every time he revives. So I mean, I feel like this is probably going to encourage people to go ahead and gear out their Lobo and stop leaving him as a baby Lobo, which is what they wanted in the long run anyway. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, when you use him, I mean, if I use him, I geared him out day one. Kind of regretted I did at the time. And when I use him, he rarely dies 3 times in a battle. I mean, he's super tanky. So if you die 3 times in a battle, you probably deserve to lose anyway. And I know a lot of people's response was, but you just could have got rid of his taunt. Well, if you do that, then it kind of gets rid of his kit. I mean, his kit he's got a good kit. It's just it's broken the way it's set up with a character that benefits from deaths.
Well, and I mean, it kind of fits his personality too, the taunt.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
think
think the
thematically
key
it's
is I think the key is you like you said you want to encourage the people to gear him out as the tank that he is and not rely on him as a squishy little throwaway that's just there to buff your other characters. So yeah, I think this fixes that.
good. And 3 times, I mean, 3 deaths is still a lot of buffs. So if you have a character like Deathstroke or possibly, a more powerful version of Jessica Cruz, that's going to be a nice. Still he still can die 3 times. Your other characters can still res. If there's, you got Grundy, you got other characters that can still res. So I still think he's going to be a viable, useful character. Because I know when I use him, I don't care about his death and resurrection. I use him for his meatiness and his bleeds. So
Sure.
I think this actually makes him better if you have him geared. So yeah, I can understand if you're using him to carry you through content, but I have a feeling after this we're gonna see some of the Gear 10, Gear 9 players might have to make the leap to Gear 11 in certain cases, or maybe they won't be able to push into the top 100 as much. But honestly, if you are a much lower geared character, it makes more sense that you would have a harder time getting into the highest ranks of PvP. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it should be in these type of games.
So ultimately, I think we're both pretty happy. I mean, better late than never, but I think we're both pretty happy with the changes to Deathstroke Lobo and that combination. I don't think you broke either character. Yeah, you're gonna lose that beautiful combo that we had, but it's still something that you could still use it. It's like you said, Lobo's just gonna be tankier, and he's not gonna be that throwaway. And he's gonna have a lot of bleeds. Deathstroke's still viable in even with the limited to 2 turns.
Well, and not only that, probably the best free-to-play player I know, World Bear, he, uses Deathstroke. He's in the top 100 right now, relying on Deathstroke, and he wants to see this change, and he thinks it's good for the game as well, just because of those same reasons. And he's 100% free-to-play. He said it's going to be harder. He's going to have to relearn how to get into the top echelon, but
Sure, he just lost his crutches.
yep.
So then, and you've kind of already hit on this rather, the fact that the rework characters are Jessica Cruz and Swamp Thing, and we're not really sure exactly what those reworks are going to be, but it sounds like you were saying, Swamp Thing's going to get a team res and some kind of immunity buffs for the team or something. We're not sure exactly what, some kind of damage mitigation.
Yeah, and if you're all listening to this, you may already know, but it looks like there's going to be some types of mends, some kind of damage mitigation. He sounds like he's going to be an interesting character.
Yeah.
I actually just finished gearing him up today, and then I already had Jessica Cruz, thankfully. So, and Jessica Cruz, they don't really tell much about her.
No, there's not much.
It sounds like I wouldn't be surprised if she's she's similar to what she was before, kind of like what Robin was, just a minor tweak. But
yeah, that's what it sounds like. Just a little tweak to make her become a more viable character, which I'm kind of excited for. I want to see her.
I really like Jessica Cruz in
Yeah.
the comic, so I love the Green Lantern universe probably more than any of the other ones. So I'm super excited to see her rework.
All right. Well, I think that's just going to be it for our super quick episode. We'd like to thank everyone for listening, and especially our patrons. And like we said, we'll try to get the full episode with all the content and information that we can out to you later in the week.
Thanks, guys.
We are legends.